So now what we are saying dynamic trunking protocol. Okay, dynamic trunking protocol. It is a Cisco proprietary, means it will enable in the Cisco device, it will work only in the Cisco device. And here what we will have this one, if we connect two switch, if we cable together, same thing just now what we observe, I have the two switch and I connected the two switch. If I make this interface as a trunk, automatically this interface is going to become as a trunk. Why it is becoming? Because of the DTP. So what we can say, if two Cisco switch are cabled together, they can negotiate as a trunk connection by using the Cisco DTP, dynamic trunking protocol. It is however recommend manually do the configuration. Cisco recommend when you are configuring this interface as a trunk, he is recommending to do this interface and this interface both are manually, not like auto. If you remember, we say we have auto and on mode. On means static, auto means dynamic. So Cisco recommend even whenever you are doing the configuration in the real scenario, try to use the manual configuration. And how we will do? We will write switch port mode trunk. This is the manual command. But if you are using L3 switch, you need to add one more command before this one. We need to write switch port trunk encapsulation .1q. Okay, and then we have the different modes for the DTP. We have the switch port mode dynamic auto, we have dynamic desirable, we have no negotiation. So these three ports, three configuration we have, three mode we have. When we connected the two switch, we can change the modes. By default, all the Cisco switch is having the dynamic auto. If you want to check any switch, let me check. We use the router here, so let me take here, we already changed, but anyhow let me check any interface, any other interface which if we did not change. Let me check here what interface we did not use. We will check show IP interface brief. Okay, so now till here we use, okay, from here to here we use. So I will check fast Ethernet 0/5. We did not configure anything, fast Ethernet 0/5. So now what I will do, I will write here show interface fast Ethernet 0/5, right? So if you go here in this one, or let me show you in another way, not this way, show interface fast Ethernet 0/5 switch port this way. Let me make big here. And if you see here, this is a brand new switch from Cisco. We did not change any configuration for particular this port. Okay, fast Ethernet 0/5. We did not change anything. By default, what we have, switch port is enabled by default. And if you see here, dynamic auto. By default, we have dynamic auto. Okay, by default we have dynamic auto, and we have the negotiation here on, and negotiation of the trunking is on by default. So I want to show you this one, dynamic auto is by default enabled. So if you see here in our theory, what we are saying here in the DTP, we are saying we have three mode. We have dynamic auto, dynamic desirable. By default, when you buy the Cisco switch, all interface is in the dynamic auto by default. So when we connect the two switches, like when we cable together with two switches, it will not become as a trunk. Why? Because here by default auto we have. When you have auto both the side, it will not form trunk. When we have auto both the side, it will not form trunk. Okay, anyhow I will show you when we do the lab. We will have, now just remember, we have the three mode. One mode is dynamic auto, one mode is dynamic desirable, and one more is no negotiate. So we will disable the DTP. So first one we will see what we are saying, switch port mode dynamic auto. When we configure dynamic auto, here example, I have one switch here, this is a switch 1. I have another switch here, this is a switch 2. I connected this switch with this cable. Okay, I connected this switch with this cable. This is the interface fast Ethernet 0/0. This is also fast Ethernet 0/0. Here I configure as a trunk, this one. And here I have dynamic auto. I did not change any configuration. When I configure here as a trunk and here I have dynamic auto, it will form trunk. Okay, The switch will form trunk if the neighbor switch is set to be trunk or desirable. If we set here as a trunk or desirable, if you have other side as a dynamic auto, it will form trunk. Trunk will not form if both sides we have auto. If we keep auto here and auto here, it will not form trunk. We are going to see that one when we do the lab. Now just we need to remember, when we buy any new switch, you will have default as a auto. When we have both the side auto, it will not form trunk. If we have one side trunk, one side auto, it will form trunk. We have one side desirable and one side auto, it will form trunk. So if you see, we have the dynamic desirable, one side, other side as a trunk, it will form trunk. If you have one side as a desirable, other side also desirable, it will form trunk. If you have one side as a desirable, other side as a auto, it will form trunk. And if you disable, then it will not form anything. DTP will be off. So this thing what we discuss, these modes, easily you can understand here. If you see here, better if you remember, in interview they are asking sometime this question also. You have two switch, okay, and here we have the desirable, here you have the desirable, then it will form the trunk. If you have here desirable, here auto, it will form the trunk. If you have trunk here, desirable here, it will form the trunk. If you have auto here, if you have trunk here, it will form the trunk. If you have auto here, then it will not form the trunk. If you have both side auto, it will not form the trunk. Okay, so you need to remember this one. But anyhow, we are going to verify this in our lab. In our next class, we are going to verify. We can do the small lab by configuring, by taking some routers, by taking the layer 3 switch. We can cross check the theory what we are discussing here, it is working or not. After that, what we will do, we will look static and manual configuration in the switch, and after that we are going to do the troubleshooting lab. As they mention in our syllabus, we will do troubleshooting lab 1, lab 2, lab 3. If you see here, they are saying in the syllabus, troubleshoot static dynamic 8012 trunking protocol. So in the real scenario, if you get the issue, how you are going to fix, what thing we need to look, we are going to check in our next class. So let me